All right, the next question was, if you have a domain that has subdomains, each subdomain has different purpose of a niche, not for lead gen, niches like dogs, cats, sports, etc. How should it be built with the SEO shield? Shield to the top domain and shield to each subdomain. Well, yeah, I mean, if each subdomain is kind of its own standalone topic, then that's what I mean. Again, I don't like, how do you have things branded together? Remember, it's about the entity too. It's not just about the topics, it's about the entity. So that's kind of a difficult question to answer because I don't have all of the details of, what the structure of the project is that you're talking about is. So I don't know, how do all the subdomains tie into the main entity, the root domain? How does that occur? Like what is the relationship? And that would determine what my answer would be. So if it's all the same brand, but it's like different categories of things, then you could have one, you should have one primary stack and one primary entity, and you can have like subsidiaries of all of that but again, I don't know what your setup is on that. So it's kind of difficult to answer. If they're all kind of unrelated or they're not part of really an overall brand, then I would do separate, separate shields for each one of them and treat them as if they were independent entities almost. But it's really difficult to answer without more details. You want to take a stab at that, Marco?
No. I totally agree. If you don't relate the subdomains in some way to the parent and you create any kind of confusion as to which one's the parent, if you in some way null or ambiguate that parent-child relationship, then you're in trouble. Because Google is going to take those, let's say just 3 subdomains and the main domain is going to be 4 separate entities that Google is going to take a look at. And it's going to confuse all 4 and it's not going to know which one it's supposed to rank. AI is getting to the point, and especially with schema now available and everything that's available, it's to the point where Google can really focus down on what the entity is, what it's all about, and what it's supposed to do with that. The moment that you confuse it, it gets really confused and really fucked up, and it's going to go all over the place and not know, like you'll see things scattered all over the place. The moment that you relate it or that you create the relationship, the parent-child, make sure that that the bot knows subdomain is part of the main domain, but the subdomain is not a separate and apart domain. Is not just living there and doing nothing. It's completely relevant to whatever it is that you're doing. Then you can really power that up, and it'll help the root, and the root will help the subdomain. That's where we are right now, guys. So it's when you're really focusing on this, when you're thinking about how to brand and how to focus on these subdomains and how to bring them up, how to rank them, then it all works together. It all comes together. It's not something that works separate and apart. You have to bring them all together, and that's tied up tied together with schema.
Yeah, he's saying there's no relation to them. So if there's no relation, then I would treat each one of those subdomains as separate, basically entities, really. If there's no relation between the parent and the subdomains, right? So the root domain and the subdomains, and you just have, different websites built on subdomains, and they're each about different topics, so not related to each other or to an overall bigger brand, then you could potentially just treat each one as a separate entity. Am I right?
Yeah, but why not then just take them into separate domains so they can brand each one and focus on each one separately rather than trying to fit them all together, where the bot's going to see something about dogs and sports and lead gen, and what are you doing? Especially if you don't do it now, instead of tying it all together, what you're going to have to do is do a really good job of separating them. Create for each one its own brand, its own entities. If you're going to do that, you might as well just separate the domains.
Yeah, I agree.